Hi, I'm Dave Eckstrom. If you're watching this, you're probably either in one of my classes or you're a parent of someone in one of my classes. I'm making this little video to introduce myself and some of the features of my class that you may find unique. I'll be addressing this to students, but parents can get a good picture of what's going on by watching this as well. One of the things that's probably most different about my classes from many other classes is that I rarely speak to the whole class at once. It's pretty unusual to find me in front of the blackboard or in front of a projector screen lecturing to the entire group. Videos of people talking about science topics have been all over the internet for years now. In fact, I just finished recording a little talk about science that'll eventually be posted on the internet. Behind me, you can probably still see the computer and the tablet that I used. Some of the talks that are out there are better than the one that I just recorded. Some are much worse. But the point is, you don't have to come to a science class anymore to hear somebody talk about science. I still think that many people can benefit from talks about science. It's just that you can do it any time. I think students get much more out of class time if they can actually actively engage in science while there's an experienced guide nearby, which would be me. And so that's what we're doing during class time. Some days that'll take the form of a hands-on investigation of some type. Some days it'll be solving problems with my guidance and help and that of the classmates. Some days it'll be testing yourself to see what you've learned and what you need to work on next. Lots of days you'll be doing a variety of things, more than one, on the same day. Another thing that's different about my classes is that in most of the classes I teach, the schedule is pretty open. I recognize that people learn different things at different rates, and that things come up in our lives that suck up a lot of time one week, and then the next week you might have a lot of extra time. So while I'll have some time limitations, we do have to be done by the end of the semester, for example, mostly you're free to move at your own pace, or at least a pace that's comfortable for you and allows you to master the material that you're really grappling with at the time. I'm not as concerned that you cover the same number of topics as everyone else. I'm much more concerned that you actually master the topics you do cover. So you'll find that I don't care much about when you get your homework turned in. Actually, I don't care that much if you ever get your work turned in. Your grade in this class will be a reflection of how well you understand, not how closely you can adhere to a schedule. And another thing, if you get something right away, good for you. But if you don't understand at first, and it takes you a little longer, but eventually you can show me that you've mastered it, there's no memory of a bad quiz grade or bad homework grade back there in the grade book to haunt you for the rest of the semester. The fact that you eventually got it is what matters, and your grade will reflect that. In lots of classes, smart kids get the good grades because they get it right away, and if you can't keep up, well, that means you're just a dumb kid, and there's no hope for you. I don't see things that way. In my book, smart isn't something you are, smart is something you become. And I want to create a place where everybody has a chance to become smarter than they were before they started my class, as long as they're willing to put in some work. There'll be more details about that once the class gets started. Right now, I want to introduce you to a few ways that you'll use technology in class. First of all, I want to introduce you to Moodle, our online learning management system, or LMS. I'll show you what you'll see as a learner when you log on to Moodle, the common things we'll use Moodle for, and how to begin navigating your way around in Moodle. Next, I'll introduce you briefly to Google Docs, which is one cloud-based utility that will allow us to create and edit and share our work anywhere we have online access and with a variety of different devices. We'll look at the spreadsheet, document, and drawing apps, and I'll show you how easy it is to collaborate with me and share with your classmates and myself. Next, I'll make you aware of a way that you can customize the dashboard on your MacBook to contain a couple of useful items you can use all the time. Finally, I'm going to show you a mashed up video that gives you an idea of the sorts of things that you'll see when you watch the videos that will provide you with most of your direct instruction in this class. Let's get started by logging into Moodle. When you open up Moodle, this is what you're going to see. This is for AP Chemistry, one of the classes that I'm teaching currently. Yours might look different than this, but some features are going to always be the same. At the very top, you're going to see a topic area called General Resources. Under General Resources, there's always going to be, in red, in fairly large print,
today's current message from me to you. There's going to be announcements on there of what's due, what's available new on the Moodle, what you can expect to be doing during the day, and probably some feedback from me about something that I learned from assessments or something that I've done with you guys. And then there may also be some hints for people who are having more trouble than other people or need a little extra help, some resource that you can find on the internet or something like that. And that'll always be in the general resources. If you miss a day or two or you're gone for a while, you can click on the news forum in that section, and then what will pop up is a list of dates, and each date is a discussion that I've started, and usually nobody replies to these, for those individual days. So what you're seeing here is the exact same thing that you saw in red because it was the most recent day that I recorded this. So you can go back and find a record of what the daily announcements and activities were in class if you happen to miss them or just need to refresh your memory. Now at the top of the Moodle, you have this cookie crumb trail across the top of where you've been and how to get back to where you're going. So I can go back to the news forum by clicking there. I can go back to AP Chem, the main Moodle page, by clicking there. And as I scroll down and get into the actual units, you can see that there are a number of things that are present. This might look slightly different for your class, but some of these features would be the same for all classes. So let's look at the Chapter 8 activities and resources for this AP Chemistry class. One thing that you're going to find is Chapter 8 podcasts. They'll be in a folder. So as I click on that, this opens up and I see all of the videos that have been podcasting for this class. If you click on an individual podcast, you have the option of saving the file or opening the QuickTime Player. These are MP4 files, and QuickTime can play those. There are other utilities that can as well, but on a MacBook, which is what most of you are using this year, that's the player of choice. Or you could save the file. So let's say you're going to go home and you don't have really reliable internet access at home, or your bandwidth isn't very high and you don't want to stream this video. You can just click Save File and click OK, and then it'll download this into your downloads, and then you can open it up from your downloads and watch it. An alternative to that would be to open the file with QuickTime Player, and then as the video starts, you can click on this option and it gives you some options. One of them is iTunes, and so you can click on iTunes and actually store this to iTunes, and you can select how you want it to be stored, to display on your computer, which is not available here, Apple TV not available, but iPhone and iPod. So if, say, you're going to be on a sports bus going to a game and you're not going to have a lot of time tonight and you want to watch it on your phone or on your iPod, you can just click share and send it to iTunes, and then you can push it out to that mobile device and then use it there. Another thing that we see here in the Chapter 8 activities and resources is follow-along notes for the podcast. The podcast that you'll be given will always come with follow-along notes, and these notes are just something for you to, like it says, follow along. You fill in the blanks, and a lot of the most important diagrams and things like that that you're going to see in the video will also be duplicated in the notes, and it's just a way to keep a record of what you've seen in the notes on paper. Or if you want to, I guess you could keep two windows open and just type in the answers, because this is just a Word document, and if you have Microsoft Word, that should work pretty nicely. Another feature on Moodle is discussions. If I open this up, there are a list of discussions here that my students have put in there, and this is a graded item in some classes where you're required to post a discussion and also respond to other people's discussions. So you can do that by just clicking Add a New Discussion Topic, and when you do that, this little editing window opens up. You have to put a subject in, and then you just type in your message here. You can actually add an attachment. You can put a graphic image in here. You can put some media in there. There are special characters, since this is a science class, that might be useful to you if you're trying to talk about something in particular in your discussion. And if you know about HTML code, you can go in here and edit the HTML source if you'd like to make things look fancier, or use some fonts or things that you otherwise wouldn't have available. And you can subscript and superscript with these buttons, and that's often important in science classes. Then you just click post to forum and your post will show up there. Or let's say I wanted to respond to someone else's discussion, like say I see this discussion on dot notation and I have a question about that. So I can open that up and then look at someone's note. So say you agree with that. You can click reply and the same editor will open up and then you can just post a response to that person's discussion. Below the discussions, then we see some practice assignments. And the first item that I'm going to click on here is practice assignment 8.1, and this is what's called a Dropbox. So right here I have a place where I can upload files. There's a little instruction box that tells the students here to do these certain problems from chapter 8 in the Zoom-Doll textbook, and then they would do that probably on Google Docs or maybe on Word or something like that. Some people write them down on paper and then take a picture of them or scan them and make a PDF. However you do it, you upload the file by just clicking this upload button and then add, and then you search for it, save the changes and go back, and I will get it. It'll send it to me, the teacher, and then I can grade it. Below every practice assignment you will always find solutions, so if you get stuck and you need some help, you can just open up the solutions and just read what have I done. And those are usually going to be pretty detailed with sometimes pictures and sketches and equations and things so that you can get an idea of how to do the problem once you get stuck. Once in a while, an assignment, and this will be more common in some classes than others, will not be from a textbook, but it'll be from like a worksheet. So in that case, that would be listed right under the Dropbox, and you can open up the worksheet and there it is. And almost all the time these are Word documents, and so you can just modify them. You can put your answers right on there, mark them up, do whatever you need to do, and save them as a PDF or just save them as a Word document and put them in that Dropbox to turn them in if you have to turn them in. Below all the practice assignments are quizzes for the practice assignments. When you click on a quiz, the quiz opens up and it allows you to, if it's open for you and you have any attempts available, take the quiz. And so I'll just show you what a quiz will look like on Moodle. It's automated, and quite often the questions are randomized, so copying off somebody else will probably give you a wrong answer because they'll probably not have the same questions as you. So there'll be multiple choice questions. There may be questions that you have to calculate an answer and put a numerical answer in the blank. There may be matching questions like this where you have to choose ranking or something like that. And there may even be true-false questions which aren't on this quiz. So after you've answered all the questions, then it'll prompt you to submit these things, and it'll give you one last chance to back out if you're not sure about them all, and then you send the quiz attempt in for grading, and it'll automatically be graded. Of course, I got these all wrong because I didn't answer any of them. And if you're doing a formal lab, there'll be a Dropbox for that. You can see that here. The instructions will be there, and any other information that you need. Maybe there'll be a data sheet or something like that. And then there's often a miscellaneous category in every chapter, and there will be information in there that might or might not be of value to you. Like here I have a couple of PhET simulations that I thought might be useful for some students, so I've just dropped them into miscellaneous. And often what's in miscellaneous is supplementary stuff that isn't necessarily for everybody, but some people will find it very useful. So that gives you a basic idea of what you see when you look at Moodle. I want to show you my dashboard. When I pull my dashboard up, it might look a little bit different than your dashboard. You probably have a simple 4-function calculator. I've got this other calculator that can do a lot more for me and has a lot of modes and settings, and it's got all the fancy buttons that you have on a scientific calculator. I got that from an online widget provider called PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, and I suggest that you load that on there because it's much more useful than the calculator that comes with your dashboard normally. And then another thing I put on here is a unit converter. To add widgets, you can just click the little plus sign when your dashboard is open, and a whole bunch of widgets across the bottom show up. And you just scroll through until you find the one you want. and there's my PEMDAS calculator. I had to put that in my widget bar because I had to download that, but it's easy to download and you don't need an administrator's password to do it. And this is the unit converter. This is already on your MacBook, so you can add that to your dashboard, and then you have this unit converter. It's actually very handy. I'll show you what you can do with it. Say I want to convert length, for example, from any unit, like miles. I can put in 1 mile here. So I've selected miles, and I want to convert that into, let's say I want to convert it into meters. It tells me exactly how many meters are there, to quite a lot of precision. And I can do that with length, power, speed, temperature, area, money, all kinds of things. It's a really handy tool to have.
Now let's take a look at Google Docs. This is a utility that anybody can use anytime, anywhere that you have internet access. And it has all the features of a typical Office type software, like OpenOffice, for example, or Microsoft Office, but it exists on the cloud, and so it's available to you on any computer that you have, and some other devices as well, as long as they happen to have internet access and you're around someplace where there's internet. So how do you get started? Well, you can start out by just going to google.com, and you're going to have to log on to a Google account. If you don't have one, they're very easy to create. You can create a Gmail account, and that allows you to have access to every Google app there is. And once you're at Google, you have this little toolbar that shows up at the top that has all these different options that you can have. And if you click more, one of them is Documents, and it'll take you to Google Docs. And I'm already signed into my Google account, and so all of my Google Docs show up here. And there are ways to organize them. I have them in folders and things like that, and you'll get used to that after a while. But I just want to look at 4 kinds of Google Docs that are available and show you how they work. One of them is a Google spreadsheet. So if I click on Create Spreadsheet, I open up the spreadsheet. And if you're familiar with Microsoft Excel or some other spreadsheet, a lot of the things that are here are going to be familiar to you. It's not as fancy. It doesn't have quite as many features as, say, Microsoft Excel does, for example, but all the basics are there, and practically everything you need to do is here. So I'll just, show you how you can enter things in and make a very simple spreadsheet. So let's say I want to enter a radius, or some radii, 1 and 2 and 3, and I want to calculate the area of a circle. So if I click into this cell and then click Insert and Function, I see that I get a half dozen real simple, commonly used functions for spreadsheets. If I want to know how to deal with another function that is not here, I can just click on More, and it'll open up a Helps tab, and it has all kinds of things in here that I can select from, like math, for example. And alphabetically listed down here, I will find pi. So there's pi. So it tells me what I want to put in there, pi, parenthesis, and then close parenthesis. So I'll go back to my spreadsheet, and I'll put that in here. Start out formulas with equals, and then pi, parenthesis, and as I type it, it starts to suggest for me what I might want. So I'll click on that and insert it. And then that's supposed to be times r squared. So I'll go back and point to the radius column, and then I'll square it by doing a little caret and then a 2, and hit enter. And so that gives me my radius, and I can copy it just like I would with Microsoft Excel by going down to the lower right hand corner and copying that down. So that's just a basic introduction to the spreadsheet. And then I can title this spreadsheet something like radius, for example, and that'll save it. Now, here's one of the great things about Google Docs. If I go over to the right-hand side here and click Share, it opens up this little dialog box that allows me to change how this thing is accessible. Right now, when you start out, it's called a private document, and you're the only one who can access it. But I can change that by just clicking Change here. So I have options here. One is you can keep it private, Anybody that has the link can access is another option, or I can just make it public so anybody in the world can get at it. Most of the time, this is the one that you want to check if you want to make it shareable. So you can click anyone with the link and then click save. Now another box opens up and it has already highlighted and ready to copy a link that you can email to somebody, you could Facebook to somebody, you could tweet to somebody, or in our case, we could send it with a Moodle message or in a Dropbox of some kind to turn in an assignment. Let's look at another type of Google Doc, a Google document. This is very much just like a standard word processor. So I can type things in here like I normally would, like my name, go in here or whatever. You type in answers to problems, type in whatever you need to type in, and then you can title them and you can share them just like you could for a spreadsheet. This is very easy to use. You can insert links, you can insert graphics, you can put bullet points or outlines, change the font size and type and color and most of the things you can do with a computer-based word processor. You can also create drawings. When you select create drawing, it's untitled drawing, you can title it, you can share it just like you can every other Google Doc. And then it has a simple toolbar for drawing things. So you can draw some shapes. There's a whole variety of shapes here. I'll pick this one and draw it. You can draw lines, arrows, curves, polylines, arcs, all kinds of things like that. So I'll just draw a line in here. Then you can move objects around. You can insert images. You can insert links. You can change line color, line width, line type, all those kinds of things that you can normally do. You can zoom if you want to zoom in, take a closer look to align something or something like that, and then you can zoom back out. This is, it's actually better than like Microsoft Paint. It's not as sophisticated as AutoCAD or something, but it does allow you to make a wide variety of drawings. Here's another feature that's kind of useful. I can click File, Download As, and then I have an option of making this a PNG, which is a very high quality graphic, a JPEG, which is a little more compressed, an SVG, or a PDF file. And so I can send this to my computer and then send it to other people or print it out or whatever I want to do. And then I'll also show you a presentation. This is Google's online version of basically a PowerPoint, something like a PowerPoint. It's a slideshow that you can make. And again, it's not as sophisticated as the products that you pay for that you can put on your computer, but there are a number of different theme options that you can choose from, and it works just the way you'd expect it to work. You can make a slideshow like the kind of slideshows you'd make with PowerPoint or Keynote or something like that. And you can share it, and you can download it, a lot of options there. So Google Docs are very useful, and it's a good way that you can get other people involved. For example, collaborators on a lab report, or you can share your documents with me if it's something that you have to turn in by using Google Docs. And I think once you get used to it, you'll find yourself using it all the time because the cloud is a great place to do computing. Automatically saved, storage is nearly unlimited, and it's easy to share. This little video is pieced together from a lot of videos that have been used in my classes for a few years, and it gives you a sort of an overview of the sort of things that you might see. You could see me writing down some information, and now I'm illustrating that information by using a graph, and graphs are pretty common in these videos, so you can see graphically the sort of concepts that are being shown with words. This is another example. This is a demonstration that's being done here. So I'm actually filming something that I'm going to do as a experiment, and the students are directed to take data on this experiment as it's running, and so you can see that I have them stop the video and make this chart, and once that chart is set up we start collecting data, and then we analyze the data. And another thing that's common is if you're going to use something on a graphing calculator or some other piece of technology that you might not be used to, I'll show that too. This is a demonstration based on a real life experience from my own life. So I've got some photos here that I'm using to illustrate a physical concept, and I'll do that once in a while as well. Another way that I can demonstrate something is by taking a video clip off of YouTube or someplace else, and then I'll record over the top of that how something in particular works. This is a Wankel engine as an example of I'm explaining using somebody else's video how the thing works. I'll use some simulations from time to time. This is from an online simulation set called PhET from the University of Colorado, and I'm illustrating here how our mind interprets colors of light mixed. Then there'll be a lot of example problems. You can see the little stop button off in the lower right-hand side. I'll direct the students to stop, and then as they stop, then they start doing the question, and then they can see that the answer worked out and a place to skip to if they already know how to do it. And then sometimes I'll start out with a picture, and then I'll do a bunch of calculations or explanation of the picture, and then go back to the picture and show the physical interpretation of what I've just calculated. And that's what I'm doing here. Now, obviously, you don't necessarily know what any of the stuff was that I was doing, but it just gives you kind of a visual picture of the sort of things that you can see as you're going to be watching these videos and what to look out for. Pay special attention to the examples. Make sure you're actually working them out.